How you guys doing? This is the Mouth of the South, John Schiavone, and the Beast of the East, Jonathan Periente from Downtown Sports, where sports come home. Are you registered to vote at your current address? It's a really important question. You know, more than 60% of eligible voters have never been asked to register. Headcount.org is working to change that.
At headcount.org, you can also check your registration status. Millions of people get purged from the voter rolls every year. Everyone should check their registration status every year. The deadline to register to vote in some states is as early as October 4th, so you want to check before then.
You could also request an absentee ballot, get info on early voting, and find your polling place, or see who's even on your ballot.
Headcount is a nonpartisan, nonprofit that tours with musicians to help concert attendees register to vote. But you don't need to leave your house to register or get voting info. Just visit headcount.org.
Register to vote today at www.headcount.org. Once again, www.headcount.org. Let your voice be heard. Don't let yourself be voiceless. Register to vote.
Sports. Major League Baseball finally might be on its way back. NBA is making a return. Major League Soccer returns in 3 to 4 weeks. The world of sports is finally beginning to return in the era of COVID-19. How big will this be for baseball to return? What are going to be the decisions that will be panned out by the Players Association and by the Major League owners? Well, I'm joined by my good co-host, the Beast of the East, Jonathan Periente, along with the Mouth of the South, John Schiavone, Downtown Sports. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we basically got the new battle of rich people versus rich people in sports, because Major League Baseball with no fans is coming, ladies and gents, and it's coming in the end of June, starting early July. So, of all of the incomplete thoughts that the MLB came up with that we've spoken about, John, what's the plan that they have finally chosen? Now, this isn't what's happening yet. The Players Association has to approve of this, but tell them all.
What's going to happen is 82 games in the regular season, so it won't even be 100 games anymore. It'll be 82 games. The plan is to have baseball back by early July, roughly around the July 4th time. They're also going to adapt the universal designated hitter. So both the National and American League would have to use a DH. No pitchers to bat, no pitchers to run, none of that. So the owners agreed to the proposal, and now the Players Association have to make the same. The plan will include a 50-50 revenue split with the players as part of this proposal by the owners. Now the question is, will the MLB Players Association, will they take a deal like this? Are they going to be willing to take that pay cut to have baseball come back?
50-50 revenue split. Now, you say it sounds so simple. What does a 50-50 revenue split mean in terms of a person like, let's say, Bryce Harper? How does that affect a guaranteed contract?
Means
like
he has to take a half of a pay cut. He's going to see his pay cut in half, basically.
So he's going to see his pay cut in half, but they say a 50-50 revenue split. You see, they didn't say cut the pay in half. You see, that's the main issue that I have. Baseball is very unclear with exactly the language that they're using.
Yes.
They're not using very clear language to describe this. A 50-50 revenue split. What revenue is there going to be this season? I would like to know what kind of revenue people watching the game. Okay, what does people watching? Yeah, but what does that actually do for MLB in terms of dollars?
Yeah, that's going to be a thing.
How does that actually work? They actually
they people buy advertising space, so I guess that's the revenue. They lose the gate, which is a big revenue.
The fans pay money.
I mean, advertising dollars are more.
You're not going to have the fans. You're not going to have the fans to pay the money to come into the ballpark and pay for the refreshments, for all the food, the merchandise.
Well, merchandise is actually something that could still happen. I mean, you could order your merchandise online, but you're not going to get a lot of the people at the stadiums. You're not going to be able to sell marked up stuff from your own team. So that's considered revenue. Exactly how does that work? And like, because it's weird to me. When I heard about this, I heard it was supposed to be a 50% pay cut, so that every player takes 50% off their pay. Now we're hearing it's a 50-50 revenue split. So to me, what 50-50 revenue split for 2020 means is that contracts can only be paid out via a certain amount. Like, this is the amount of money for contracts that we have, and they're going to group all the major league contracts together and then come up with like how it, like, this is the amount that all the contracts cost, this is the amount of revenue the players have to pay to be paid. So then Bryce Harper could go legitimately from making what, 30 something million dollars to 12 million if the revenue isn't that high. 50% pay cut. 50% pay cut would be better than what this is. If you are to believe the language of Major League Baseball, what a 50-50 revenue split is that Major League Baseball then comes in, takes a lot more money from the advertising pot than they generally do, because generally the owners, I believe they make a lot of their money on the gate, and a lot of player salaries come from the advertising money, correct? So now, if they pay the players the salaries that they're owed at this point, it's going to put Major League Baseball as a company in the red.
Yeah, I mean, every sport, no matter how we're going to slice it, they're going to be in the red once they resume their season, or if they even choose to.
No, that's impossible. Like the NBA right now, if they were to stop their season, they're not in the red.
Yeah.
They're not in the red. If they were to stop their season and not have a 2020 season, they're not in the red. They've made all their money from the games that they've played. I mean, they'd have to return money for playoff tickets and previously sold things, but in general, you're still in the red. You pay the players for the time that they've put in, and the season's over. Other sports are a different story. If they don't have a season, they're in the red because they've already run. Think about Major League Baseball. They've already run spring training. They're going to have to run another spring training. They've had to pay players' salaries up to a certain point this year. They've had to put forth a lot of money to start and then a lot of money to stop, to test players, to test teams that were exposed to players with coronavirus. Specifically, the Yankees, I believe the entire team was tested for coronavirus. A lot of people forget about that, which is...
Have other teams been tested is the real question. Have the other teams done a full test of their players? We don't really...
Not yet. But of course, before baseball happens, you would have to do that. But now, where this 50-50 revenue split is a problem is the fact that it's not even a 50% pay cut. People are thinking that if that means 50% pay cut. That's not a 50% pay cut. That's a potential $20 million pay cut. This is the amount of money the players have to work with. And how is that number decided before the season starts so players can actually get paid during the year?
Well, this 50-50 revenue split is going to be very interesting to see how the Players Association will come to grip with that.
They're not going to come to grip with that. I don't think they're going to accept the 50-50 revenue split. I have a question. Do you see Tony Clark continuing to lead the MLB Players Union if a guy like Bryce Harper would potentially lose $20 million in a year? There's no way they're going to accept this, and there's almost no way they should accept this. If it was a 50% pay cut, I would understand that almost. A 50-50 revenue split is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's why we still, again, how long will it take till an agreement is made is going to determine how late the season ends up starting, or if we even see it at all. Right now,
true, but at least we have something that was officially released and sent to the Players Union. After about a month of speculation talking about it, about 3 or 4 different iterations of a plan. We finally have one. So now the DH is back. We got the regional divisions, which don't really make sense to me because there's certain teams, Atlanta, for example, they're going to have to travel far and wide to play in their division.
Yeah. Well, remember now, the plan is, of course, for the teams to play in their spring training sites in Arizona and in Florida. And as of now, the governors for both Arizona and Florida have cleared to have professional sports played in their home states. That'll be interesting.
So hold on. We're starting the season in Arizona and Florida in July. We're not starting the regional plan.
Like the other states haven't allowed for professional teams to just come back.
Well, spring training is going to be spring training still. So I'd imagine, in June, obviously, they'll go to Arizona and Florida to do spring training. That's what that clears the way for. That doesn't mean the season's going to start there. I think you're going to see the stadiums open in July. I think you're going to see that no-fan professional sports. My question is, how do you secure those stadiums? But do you know what? I'm sure they'll come out with a plan if it's approved. But
yeah, they have to follow. They'll have to follow. This is from the governor of Arizona. This is from Doug Ducey. Yes, all the professional sports, including Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, can resume without fans as long as they follow the CDC guidelines. So they must follow CDC.
Yes, so they must follow CDC guidelines. Okay, great.
The only concern I have is, how do you keep people away? How do you keep people away from the stadium? How do you keep fans away from the parking lots? You see, that's the thing. No fans is a very broad description. I mean, that means nobody should be allowed on the stadium premises at all.
They have to have it secure. They have to have it securely guarded and locked. Nobody can.
Either that, or maybe your idea. Maybe we should just keep pushing this idea you had last week, John. Drive-in baseball. Come on.
I mean, what could you? You couldn't ask for anything better, right? You couldn't ask for anything better.
I mean, they're already starting to consider doing drive-in movie theaters. Like, I think some places are gonna outfit their parking lots with big projector screens and have drive-in movies like they did in the 70s, and everybody has to be windows up, social distance, mask on.
Yeah, out in the suburbs. They can do that in the suburbs. That used to be how it was in the old days. You go to the movies, you drive in, you take a little popcorn or whatever, and you get to see your movie right there. Of course.
Yeah, no, but I mean, what's stopping parking lots of Major League Baseball stadiums from doing the same thing?
They just have to be big enough. The lots just have to be enough to fit enough people, because obviously, you're going to have a lot of people upset if a couple cars can't fit in there and they get turned away.
I have a question. What's stopping Major League Baseball or any other professional sport? Let's expand on this idea. What's stopping Major League Baseball or any other professional sport from renting out huge parking lots of places like malls that are closed or things like that? What's stopping them from saying, hey, we're going to rent this parking lot, put a whole bunch of people in the parking lot, put a huge screen, bang, go watch a baseball game?
The issue I think that would come out of this is if let's say you have what they call the viewing parties. You could see a million viewing parties pop up maybe illegally in areas. Then it could inspire people. Oh, I could set up a viewing party right outside my house and put my TV right there, and then I can have large gatherings of people not in their cars. It could really I think it could send a bit of a bad message.
Well, then having the people in the stadium parking lot is the same bad idea, no?
But there at least you have a controlled number of people. You're paying an amount of money for people to be there.
No, I would say Major League set up employees to take money at big mall parking.
Yeah, of course. That I agree with 100%.
Take money,
that I agree with
pay, get in. Here's security. Here's the big screen. Here's people on roller skates selling popcorn to you with masks on or something. And there you go. Do something like that.
Well, again, if this is all done right, and if it's done securely, and if it's done safely, I have no reason why this could not work.
I mean, at the very least, you know what? You could charge people for anything on this planet. Why wouldn't you set up a screen and charge people to be in their cars, turn to a special AM radio signal to hear the live broadcast like you would in the booth if you were in the booth with the announcers, so you get that special privilege, and then you watch the game. All the windows are up. You're in your car. You're having a great time. They show all the like here, like instead of the crowd, you could like superimpose like the cars in the stands if you want to do. I wouldn't do that,
Well,
but
you
like
got
you know,
people
at
putting
least you got.
posters of
at
their
least
team on
you
their
got-
car. That could definitely be something. You put a poster.
But
of
then
their
at
team.
least maybe you're going to a baseball game somehow, some way. It's not the same, but at least you're doing
It gives you the
something.
feel of it. It gives you the feel that you're at a game. It really does.
Yeah, it gives you maybe I don't know if it gives you the feel of it, but at least it gives you something to go support your team. It gives you a way to be around other Mets fans or other Yankee fans without being around them and being in the state. Maybe it's that sense of
Community
A
that
feeling of
sports
normalcy
brings.
is what it is. A feeling
yeah,
of
maybe
normalcy.
that sense of community that sports generally brings. People are starving for that, but you can't have it. You can't have it over a television screen. Maybe you have it over a big projector screen in your car with the AM radio with your windows up, and you're watching it there. You're getting to hear like what the announcers are thinking in between innings. There's no commercials. There's like it's just a straight up game experience without you actually being there.
Well, we already have seen now one professional sport come back, and that's UFC. That came back over the weekend. Again, no fans. Dana White pushed for these fights to happen. They did. Seemed like they got overall, a general good support for it coming back. That was at least a sign of something. You have NASCAR coming back May 17th.
Yeah, so UFC actually punched their way to the first front of the line in terms of sports. Yeah.
You're going to see Major League Soccer is looking at coming back in late June.
Now, what's that plan looking like? That's something I didn't even hear about. I thought the MLS was done almost. I didn't hear a thing about them.
All right, so what they'll do is they eye June 1st to train in Orlando and then have a tournament start roughly about 3 or 4 weeks after that. So you're looking at end of June into July, just like for baseball, would be around the time for soccer to come back as well. So I'm hoping this will definitely be a great joint effort by every single sport in America. With one coming back already in UFC, you have NASCAR coming back in about another week. Baseball likely back in July. Soccer could come back maybe around July as well. It definitely is going to start setting the table. The NBA also, I'd like to bring the NBA up too. There have been some talks now heating up in the NBA for them to resume their season. Now, I think you mentioned, what was it, John, about Shaq mentioned just dump the whole season out? Was that what he brought up?
Yeah, he said dump the whole season. He said don't play, and he said specifically, whoever were to win the championship in 2020 wouldn't be regarded as an NBA champion.
Well, I would be very interesting about that.
Said nobody would think that championship counted.
Now, here's some news that I just got just under a day ago now from Shams Charania via Twitter.
Okay.
Adam Silver spoke to the Board of Governors today, and he's aiming for a 2 to 4 week timetable to resume the NBA season. And it seems like the owners and the execs are very hopeful that an NBA season could return when speaking with the commissioner.
Well, the thing that I'm hearing now, this is the biggest prevailing rumor that I've heard. Now, the NBA is the next rumor mill dropping rumors. I've heard this Las Vegas plan of playing in Las Vegas, where they would have like maybe either like the last little bit of the regular season only for certain teams, like maybe certain games need to be finished out to see who makes the playoffs or who doesn't, and then the playoffs would then resume, or the plan would be take the teams that are 1 through 8 East and 1 through 8 West right now and start the playoffs from there. So and then do the playoffs in Vegas.
Now, unlike with baseball, this is where it's a little interesting. The players are, their Players Association for Major League Baseball is not sure how to resume the season to their extent, unless, again, with the revenue split and the money they're going to do. But the players of the NBA, they want the season to come back if it's safe. It's kind of very interesting. The players on the NBA want the season to come back, but, their executives are trying to do the right thing here when we can resume it. And then you have baseball. The owners already have agreed to a proposal, and now they're waiting on the players to agree, but you're not sure if the players are going to agree.
Well, what's gonna happen? Well, what you're talking about here is the NBA has a specific. Yeah, the NBA already has a specific situation where there's a sliding scale. The season has already started. Players are paid for the amount of games that they play in the season. They have their per game salary, and that's it. And their contracts, they're guaranteed in a sense, but not like guaranteed like baseball is guaranteed.
Well, the NBA is 67 games into their season. They have about 15 games left.
Exactly. So the players are going to be getting most of their salary anyway. So yeah, they want to resume because players who make the playoffs who aren't LeBron James or any of the other big superstars in the LA Lakers or
James
right
Harden
now,
or James Harden, Kevin Durant, etc.
Yeah, and Durant could actually watch Durant come back and play in the playoffs. Like watch Kyrie come back for the Nets. That'd be an interesting situation to see. But then but then Shaq is saying, "Oh no one will regard them as a champion." But the NBA players want to come back because they get paid for every game they play. So if it's safe, they want to come play.
So Shaq would not regard someone as a champion in the NBA if they resume their season, but we already regard the Houston Astros as champion, even though we know they cheated 3 years ago, and we can declare them champions.
I don't know.
Talk about a real double standard that is. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's beside that point. But
that's conversation for maybe a little later on tonight when I'm alone eating a can of string beans, upset.
But this will definitely be a very curious move now. So now that the UFC has already made their move to bring back their matches, bring back their fights, now which of the major 4 North American sports will be the first one to fire the first shot at bringing their games back? That should be very interesting.
I mean, right now, baseball seems to have the one plan to get the job done at the moment. They seem to have the one set idea that seems to be working, that seems to be moving forward. Yes, down the road it's coming, but
the big one's going to be eventually the NFL. And Dr. Fauci, of course, yesterday testified in front of the Senate via Zoom like we're doing right now. He did it via a video.
Because he's actually isolating because he was exposed to coronavirus.
So Fauci hinted that obviously for September, right now we're not probably going to have people back in school, college sports. Who knows if that's even going to happen at the end.
You see, that's another point I want to talk about. What Fauci said about kids not being in school, this extends to the NCAA. What I'd like to know is this. I mean, this is like I kind of feel like this is a Dora the Explorer adventure we're going to go on, okay? Like, how you have, it's like, okay, here's the mountain, the treasure chest, and the end of the mystery, and you did the adventure. So, no school, no college. So, no college means no students in the schools. So that means, in my opinion, because I don't understand how you have NCAA sports with these students coming to play for no pay and no education. I don't see how that possibly works. That can't work.
This is affecting every college that's affiliated with the NCAA. It's not just the Division I. It affects D2. Brooklyn College is D3. And we already saw the virus forced the NCAA tournament to cease.
Exactly. There is no
that was major money lost by the NCAA.
And the NCAA needs to have a season. They need to have college football. If they don't have college football, the NCAA goes bankrupt almost.
Imagine if we see 2 seasons in a row locked. Can you imagine if we see 2 consecutive championship seasons locked, particularly for basketball?
In the NCAA, I would say you need to see that because if these kids aren't getting paid, like we're having coaches getting suspended for helping kids get endorsement deals for like $100,000 so they can come to the school, right?
Yeah, just ask Rick Pitino that.
Yeah, exactly. So we're suspending coaches for getting kids a little money to eat, okay? You're going to tell kids who aren't getting paid, who then aren't going to school and receiving the free education, that was supposed to be the rub for being an NCAA basketball player, football player, baseball player, whatever sport you're on. I mean, because forget the major sports. We're talking all sports that colleges support. Like the big rub, especially if you're a Division I player who is going to be playing in a televised sport. The big rub for that is, well, not only are you getting television exposure, you're getting free education and a college degree for absolutely free. If you don't have that, there's absolutely no reason for these young kids to expose themselves to coronavirus for our entertainment for absolutely free.
We had already seen, and I remember.
Now, hold on. Let me finish the point. Because remember, it's like a Dora the Explorer episode. We had to make that one stop, and we had to go to the next part, right?
We got to speed it up here. I'm getting hungry soon. We're all starving.
I know. You got 3 minutes till dinner, right?
Less.
Let me finish it off. So 3 minutes to dinner time. We're going to finish this off. So then, conceivably, if we have like sensible thought reigning through our heads, we're not going to have an NCAA football season, an NCAA basketball season, meaning there's going to be no draft class for the NFL, the NBA, the MLB.
Well, actually, Major League Baseball has hinted about a draft, but it would only be about 5 rounds.
Yeah, because of winter ball and players from other countries and stuff like that. But you're not really going to have a legitimate NBA or NFL draft because they use the NCAA college superstar mill to fuel their systems.
The NBA draft definitely is not going to happen. The NFL got their draft in already. That's already done.
Yeah.
So the NFL is safe for now, as far as that's
exactly what's going to happen with these sports when the NCAA goes under. How do we find new talent?
That's going to be a big question. That's big.
If you guys could actually see the big old sarcastic smile on my face right now, because I know the answer.
So look internationally. You'll have to recruit from international or from the minors.
Yeah, maybe we're gonna start to see an influx of players from Korean baseball that we've seen on ESPN. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe the NBA's G League, maybe the G League of the NBA can become
That's something that's going to become pretty big, but we'll talk about that in another episode. But let's just end on this point, right?
Yeah.
One of two things is going to happen. Either A, the NCAA is not going to have seasons because there's no way you're going to tell kids that they have to go and play on national TV and risk getting coronavirus for free, or B, the NCAA is finally going to have to cave in and let coaches get students endorsement deals so they can get $100,000 check so that they could actually, get a little something from this entire deal. Then maybe you have NCAA seasons.
You're going to see a lot of corners being cut by the NCAA. They're going to do everything to cut corners to make sure the NCAA does not go under. But yeah, because as you said, we can't see it go under. We can't see no college sports. We can't see no drafts. We cannot see no commitment parties to where you're going to go to school. Mm-hmm. We need to know where these kids are going to play. We have to know how they're going to be represented. We need to know the future they're going to have.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. Exactly what is the rub for these students to come play at this current point? If Dr. Fauci just testified in front of the Senate that we shouldn't have school for children, why should adults be subjected to the same setting for college?
As adults, we make our own decisions as adults. We have the responsibility to make our own decisions. As kids, we don't.
But colleges are also run by the Department of Education. So if the Department of Education determines that school cannot be opened in whatever state, that includes colleges. So let's say in New York State, if the public schools are closed, the City University of New York is closed, the State University of New York is closed. If the governor says schools are closed, schools are closed.
Would have to be in that mix as well. Even those
private colleges do have to follow orders from DOE. They're closed as well. If all schools are ordered closed, all schools are ordered closed. So you could have certain universities in other states that might be open. Maybe some teams wouldn't participate, but how many of those kids do you think are going to feel safe to live in a dorm at a college campus? How many of those kids do you think are going to feel safe going to actual classes? How many parents of those kids are going to feel safe sending them to school? And then on top of that, they have to go play football or basketball for free in order to maintain their scholarship. Otherwise, because if they don't play, they can't afford the tuition, because it's not a full ride. It's only if you make the team and if you play. So
this will all kind of blow over eventually. Not now, obviously not now because of this pandemic. It won't. But
Oh no, of course.
there
But
have been moments where like there were incidents where being in a dorm was kind of a scary thing. Meningitis. You've heard of the meningitis that always goes around.
this is worse than meningitis. The reason in New York City that we had so many cases... Listen, everybody. The reason in New York City that we had so many cases of coronavirus, 2 reasons. 1, people from everywhere came here. And 2, people live in dormitory-style lifestyles. Like we... Exactly. So now take those 2 situations and apply that to your little college town in Kansas or in Idaho or in Wyoming, where you have students that were coming from around the world who are attending this college, people from all over the country, New York City, Florida, Georgia, coronavirus hotspots. If your college is open, those kids are going to come. So you're going to put a lot of people in dormitory-style situations. Exactly how's that going to work? How are you going to have NCAA sports? In a way, I almost think that the NCAA is in a catch-22. They can't afford to pay their players a thing, but that's going to be the only way you're going to be able to have them come back.
I'd only seen one game, and this is right before the NCAA D3 tournament was stopped. Yeshiva played a game against Johns Hopkins with no fans. And I'll tell you this, it did not feel the same. I don't know how they even came in at all. Having no fans, it's a shame. Yeshiva won the game, and then the next week, that's when they pulled the plug for the Sweet 16. So right at the end of the round of 32, that's when the D3 one had to stop as soon as the rest of the NCAA had to suspend their season. So, but yeah, the NCAA cannot go through something like this a second time, particularly for basketball. If they go another year with no sports, that could be the final nail in the coffin.
I mean, the conferences themselves might be able to survive. So maybe then the conferences break off and then play as conferences by themselves later on. But I think the NCAA as an entity is in deep, deep trouble, ladies and gents. And with that depressing news, we're going to go and finish the show because John's just looking at me like he's very angry.
Hungry. I'm dying. I'm starving.
We got a couple of questions that are going to be answered by next week. First question. Will Tony Clark accept Major League Baseball's proposal? My answer, my opinion, I don't think there's any way in hell they're going to accept a 50-50 revenue split.
So will that mean baseball will actually come back? Who knows?
Who knows, but they better come with a better financial offer than a 50-50 revenue split. A 50% pay cut might work a little better than a 50-50 revenue split. 2, the NCAA is in deep, 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 deep trouble. And I think next week we're going to have a special episode. Maybe we'll do a 2-episode week where we examine exactly how much trouble the NCAA is in if, let's say, the worst were to happen and there's no college football and there's no college basketball and there's no college baseball.
I think we'll have a very special voice to give us the answers to that. Oh, we'll have some things. There's going to be big moves are coming in the sports world, particularly for next week. And that could really determine where we're going in the era of COVID-19.
And with that, we're going to cut this out. I'm John Schiavone, the Mouth of the South. That's John Perriente, the Beast of the East. This has been Downtown Sports.
You can listen to us everywhere on Anchor, on Overcast, on Google Podcasts, Breaker, Radio Public. You can listen to us as well live all over our Anchor.fm, and on Spotify. But right now, we'll see you guys next week. A lot of things to discuss in the sports world. COVID-19 era. Can sports bounce back? Have a good one, everybody.